Hi, I'm Randy. Today I'd like to talk about recovery on the thermodynamics iCNC controller. Recovery meaning if you're in a program and something happens and while you're in a program, machine stops for whatever reason, how do you resume cutting? How do you finish cutting your part or your nest of parts? We're going to start with the basic recovery features and then go more into advanced. Hopefully we can come up with a good video that makes sense at the end. So here we go. We have our part set up. We're zeroed out on our start point. I'm going to turn the laser pointer off and press program start to start the program. Okay, machine's going to move down to start the first cut, but I'm going to stop it. To stop it, all I did was press the stop backup button. Stop backup is exactly what the button says. It'll stop a program or allow you to back up on path if you need to back up for whatever reason. But in this case, we used it just to halt the program or pause the program. Since the torch was going down before I stopped it, we know that we're on a pierce point or a cut path, so we can press torch on off to resume cutting. So I stopped it again. This time I'm going to press the stop back up, and as I press the stop back up, you can see the machine physically moves backwards on path. Right now we're on a rapid or traverse movement between the two cuts. To resume cutting at this point, we definitely do not want to press torch on off. If we were to press the torch on off right now, the torch would actually fire on that cut line or on that traverse line and cut the traverse line, which we definitely don't want to do that. So in this case, all we would want to do to resume cutting would be to press the move ahead button. Okay. If you're not for sure if you're on a traverse line or a pierce point, and you don't want to mess up your part, you can always back up on path until you know you're on a traverse line and then press move ahead. Alright. Now let's talk about one other thing. So now we know when to use stop back up, move ahead, torch on off. Let's talk about, say we need to change our consumables for whatever reason. We're cutting along and our consumables go bad for whatever, they're just tired, worn out. Say our torch is out in the middle of the table. We don't want to climb out on the table to change our consumables. So what we could do, first stop the program like we did, and then we could press the manual mode and we can jog the machine somewhere where we can easily access our consumables. At that point, we could change our consumables. When we want to get back to our program, all we do is press the manual mode button to exit out of manual mode, and you'll see the machine will back up to wherever it was before you pressed the manual mode and started manually jogging the machine. So, okay, we're back on this traverse line, and now we want to resume cutting, so we'll press the move ahead. Again, press stop back up to stop it from cutting, and torch on off to resume cutting. Okay, so that is the very basics of stopping a program and resuming cutting. Now we're going to talk about if you have a collision. So you're cutting along and for whatever reason your torch crashes into the plate, machine stops. So let's do that. I'm going to start the program and I'm going to force the collision. Okay, so I forced the collision. Collision would be if the torch hits the plate. A lot of things can cause that to happen, but if it does happen, here's how you resume. First thing you want to do is drive your torch down to the plate and see if you need to back up or move ahead. Ideally, you want your torch, the center of your torch, to be centered up where you lost your cut. In this case, we are, but if we weren't for whatever reason, we could move ahead, but you see, or we could back up. Say we backed up, but back up too far. When we press the move ahead, the machine's going to want to run really fast. I'll go ahead and do it, but it'll want to move really fast. So I quickly press the stop back up to stop it. But ideally, when you use the move ahead button, it's a good idea to turn your speed down to 0, press to move ahead, and then you can use your speed potentiometer to kind of control your speed and get your machine right back to where you lost your cut. Okay, right about there. So now I'm going to press to move ahead to get out of move ahead. Now I can turn our speed back up to 100%. Close out our fault that we got from the collision that I created. Now if we're ready to resume cutting, we can just press the torch on off. Okay, so I stopped it again. The way we did the last recovery was just pressing the torch on off. Another thing we could do is we could, if we lose our cut, again, drive the torch down the plate, make sure you're at a good starting point, and if you are, you could press the manual mode button and then jog off contour a little bit. Okay, so now we're out here in space on the middle of this scrap. And we did that by pressing the manual mode and the jog directional keys and just jog the machine to a place on the scrap. Now to recover, we could press a cut path recovery. What the cut path recovery will do will basically create a lead-in from wherever the torch location is back to the cut path and then finish our cut. By doing it this way, you're not going to have a nick in your part. When you do torch on off on your cut path, you could have a little bit of a nick in your part. By doing the jogging off contour and then cut path recovery, you're kind of making a manual lead in, and this will help reduce that nick that you could potentially get in your part. So here we go, cut path recovery. Okay. All right, so that is majority of all the recovery features. The very last one is if you ever happen to have a power outage. So say you're in the middle of cutting a job, your power goes out, or say you're in the middle of a big nest, it's time to go home, you have another several hours left of cutting your nest, and you have to go home. It's time, it's 5 o'clock. So what you could do is cancel the program, or if you lose your power, everything's going to power off. When it asks you to return to 00, say no. To make this more difficult, I am just going to jog out to some random place on the table. Okay, so we still haven't cut the outside of this square. And what I'm going to show you is how to do it. Now, this only works if you home your machine in the morning. When you come in the morning and it asks you if you want to home, yes or no, it's very important that you say yes. When you say yes, this CNC is going to remember your last 5 start points. So where the torch was parked when you press program start. Where that is located is in jog program zeros. If we click on that drop down box, there's your last 5 program start points. Again, if you don't home the machine, these will just fill up with junk files. But since I home this machine, this is a good valid location. So 1 is going to be this program that we were cutting, 2 is a program I was cutting previously, 3 was a program before that, so on and so forth. So we have 1 selected, and we're going to click drive to. Now we turn our laser pointer on, you see we're back at the start point of this program. So now to resume cutting, we could press program start, and then every time we got to one of the holes that we've already cut, we could just press move ahead and then press move ahead again. But if we had a bunch of parts, that would take a very long time. The easier solution would be to press show new start point. By clicking on the show new start point, it gives us this screen over here. This little green dot is where it wants to start the cutting program. If we press this 1+ button, you see that green dot moves to the next pierce point, and the next pierce point, and the next pierce point. So we could keep on clicking one, move ahead, move ahead, and move ahead, or we could use our mouse and point to where we want to restart. When I drive the mouse over to a lead-in, you could see our cursor become a crosshair. When we see that crosshair, if we click, it'll cancel out everything, and now you see all these holes that we already cut are yellow, they're no longer red. Now to resume cutting this, all we would press is the restart button. That is recovery. That is all the different tools you have available on the thermodynamics iCNC. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for your time. Bye now.